Hey everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. What is your problem? Well, I'm going to tell you about mine, and we have some lovely panelists to tell you theirs as well. I'm Rudy Caseres. This show is called What's Your Problem, where we're talking about the things that irk us the most, that really grind our gears, especially when it relates to the mental health system, suicide prevention programs, discrimination, all that fun stuff. We're going to talk about it, and we want to hear from you as well. So if you're watching this live, please let us know that you're here. Let us know that you care. Just leave an emoji even in the chat. It's all good. And if you're watching this later on the day, later on the week, watching the replay, hello, hello. Still feel free to comment. I love always coming back to old shows and reliving past memories. So thank you to my panelists. Without further ado, let's bring them on one by one. First, and certainly as most, tell the whole world, the whole everyone. I always want to say like the mighty verse. It's not the mighty. This is my show. I get to do whatever I want. So tell everyone who is Ernesto Mariscal.
Ernesto Mariscal. I am a inspirational speaker. I am also a veteran who served 21 years in the United States Army, deployed to Iraq twice. As a child, I went through abuse, both sexual and physical. I became homeless at 16, dropped out of school. I was pretty much a troublemaker. But looking back at it, I was just projecting what was going on from my trauma as a child. And I was projecting it to others around me. And of course, looking for that attention, but I was getting it the wrong way. And in a nutshell, that is me, who I am. And I love speaking and helping others and telling my story so that I can let others know that they're not alone in this fight we call life.
Yeah, and we connected late last year, and you reached out to me through my website, which I always appreciate when people do, rudycaceres.com. There's a contact form there, and just shot in the dark, reached out to me, and we've collaborated on events in the past. You were a cast member of the This Is My Brave Veteran show. Thank you for doing that and sharing your story. I'm glad I haven't scared you away just yet. So thank you for joining this show, and I'm glad we get to work again. And we have definitely have more time for you coming up, but let's move on to our next panelist. Tell everyone again who is Rihanna Brand.
Hi, I am, my day job is the events and program coordinator for Meals on Wheels of Cheyenne. I'm also a motivational speaker with my own LLC called Unconditional Inspiration. QPR master trainer, so suicide prevention master trainer, a Living Works assist trainer, and I just really like to help people. I'm also a mom of three, and a mom of three fur babies too. I am heavily involved in advocating for mental health at a state level as well as a national level. I was really involved in the 988 number. Really grateful to those that listened that we needed it. I live in Wyoming, so a very rural area, and that 800 number wasn't working for us. Literally, we didn't have a call center. People would call in. It would be 30-minute waits if someone would answer. And then no one from Wyoming was answering the call, so they didn't know the resources to send. So super grateful to be here. Thanks, Rudy, for inviting me. Nice to see you again, Aaron, and nice to meet you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for coming back on. For those who maybe joined us last week, we had a bunch of tech issues. My computer completely just berserked, and thankfully I was able to resuscitate it for my job interview later on today, which I got. I'm very excited for that. I just found out, so that's good. And thank you again for joining us. I know it's you got a busy schedule, so appreciate you, Rihanna.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I like your background too. I usually don't like the Zoom virtual backgrounds, but this is really on point. So kudos on
I
that.
made it.
I know, awesome. More people should do that. Okay, let's move on to our third and final, but certainly as equal panelists. Tell the whole world who is Aaron McCauley.
Thanks for having me on again, Rudy. I'm Erin. I'm obviously from Australia. I'm a registered nurse, but also a mental health advocate. And I'm currently working with a charity out of New York called Same Here Global, which is focusing on just trying to fix the language all around mental health, how mental health is viewed, how it's a 5 in 5 problem, not a 1 in 5 problem, because everyone has mental health. Um, and we're really just trying to stop the labels and the bucketing that go on within the mental health area, so we can reach more people.
Yeah, and you were here last week as well, so thank you for joining me. Because, like, especially with you, like, what time is it right now in Australia?
6 o'clock
Six
in the
o'clock.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's already Saturday where you are, and so thank you so much for joining me again. I'm glad we get to work together again. You were on my first show, No Restraints, all the way back in like what 2018, maybe 2017. So thank you for doing that, and I'm glad we've stayed in touch, and I'm glad you're here because I'm sure you've got lots of problems to share with us all. And so let's bring up our whole panel now. Here we go. The way this is going to work, each of our panelists, including myself, I will go last, has a problem that really irks them related to the mental health system, suicide prevention, discrimination, all that fun stuff that we as mental health advocates like to discuss. And since there's only four of us, we have a little bit more time to really deep dive into these things and why they bother us and what kind of solutions we might have to offer. I know not every like big problem has an easy solution, but we try to like have some positivity on this. I mean, if we can just rant for an hour, that's totally fine too. I'm okay with that. But let's try to give some positive input as well if we can, but certainly no pressure. My mouth is going dry, so thankfully I have my water bottle nearby. The way it's going to work in order: Ernesto, Rihanna, Aaron, and then once everyone gets to say their piece, and then me, of course, um, feel free as people are talking. If anything that crosses your mind, anything that you want to comment on, or second, or follow up on, add your own 2 cents. Feel free to do that. You can, if you're on Zoom, just raise your hand, and then that way I know to call on you. So there's not a bunch of crosstalk and what have you. So take it away, Ernesto.
One of the things that when I was asked to come on here, especially with mental health, just like Aaron said, that those labels. And as a child, I remember having all these thoughts, having all this anger. I mean, it was just so many things going on in my mind, going through abuse and 5 years old, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And a lot of times growing in I grew up in Southern California, and in Mexican culture, it's like, oh yeah, something's wrong with your kid. You don't talk about it. You just like, you better hide all your emotions. And I believe that hiding all my emotions or keeping them within and never talking about it caused a lot of problems for me. Um, I was always fighting and I was always getting in trouble. But looking back at it, I was just looking for help, but I was asking for help the wrong way, by causing problems, by getting in trouble, just projecting all the anger, the hate, everything that I had inside me. I was projecting it to other kids around me or other people around me, making them, trying to make them feel like I felt inside, which was miserable. And so that is why when I see children now or young adults, and they're causing problems, or it's just they're doing things that get them in trouble. First of what I'd like to do is look at the root problem. What's really going on behind the closed doors? That's where I think we need to start looking, rather than just trying to throw pills at or adults as well, but throwing pills at people and just thinking, okay, we're going to put a band-aid on it. And that is my problem right now, because I don't think we go to the root of the problem and fix what's going on, rather than just trying to give, medication and see you in 6 months. That is my problem right now. Yes.
one second. Um, I was just saying that medications can be very helpful. They're not the end all be all, and we need to really look at the root of the problem, which I'll get into with my problem coming up. Don't want to get too much into that right now, but definitely, it's just like. We teach the world like, oh, you have a chemical imbalance and therefore like you just need to take some medication and then you'll be better, you'll fix that imbalance and then you'll be back on your merry way without addressing the root problems that I will get into very soon. So just I'll table that for now, but thank you very much for sharing. Let's get on to Rihanna. What is your problem?
I have a few of them, but the biggest one right now is we have here in the United States something called mental health and substance abuse parity. It's a federal law, and all states have it as well. I worked really hard about 4 years ago to get it passed in the Wyoming state legislation. We're one of the last states to have it. But what I found out is companies have a loophole. It's all of these grandfathered in plans. So with mental health and substance abuse parity, insurance companies are supposed to cover your mental health and substance abuse coverage just the same way they do your physical body, your doctor's appointments, etc. But with these grandfathered in programs, they found this loophole. So they're not paying for all of the appointments, or they're only paying 50% of the bill. I'm really irritated about it because this is a lack of access to care for people. Our brain literally functions everything else in our body. Why are we not allowed to get just as much coverage for our brain that's functioning everything? That's my biggest gripe right now. I really don't know how to solve this yet, except for advocating on a federal and state level that this loophole needs to be gone. There can't be grandfathered in plans. What companies struggle with in going into the new plans is they might get better mental health coverage, but then their physical health coverage costs more. So we need to figure it out. Healthcare in the United States is hard already, but mental health care and substance abuse, when we're getting to those root of the problems, like you guys have stated, I think that is a key thing that we need to do is figure out how to have our insurances cover these visits just like they cover our doctor's visits.
Right on. Yeah, and the thing is, the insurance companies they don't want to, and
Heck no.
like why should they? And so like we as consumers like we need to be coming with our pitchforks and demanding this, and it's so hard because they're so powerful, and unless we're united we're just going to get trampled over, and we disagree on so many different things related to healthcare, like if whether it should be universal, whether certain things should be free or the government should pay for, are the prices on things, access to generics, and so it's such a. Oh man, I can go on and on and on. Just like how messed up healthcare, just in general. Like I know America has its own problems too, but like um, all over the world, there's just all kind. Just it's just I can just go on and on forever about how screwed up healthcare systems in general are, insurance companies, and it sucks because there's some amazing doctors out there who are doing good work in the world and would love to not charge all this much money for very basic procedures or medications and what have you, access to therapy. I know tons of therapists who do sliding scales, who do to pro bono work and all that stuff, work with youth and work in the prison system as well. And it's not enough. And the therapists, the doctors who do that kind of stuff, it does take a hit. We like to think of as doctors as rich and everything, but unless you're at a certain level, I know doctors who are struggling financially, which is just like mind-boggling to me because they want to have their rates as cheap as possible. They want to bill as little as possible, but it's the insurance companies are the ones who are demanding these outrageous rates or not paying for certain things and all this other stuff that has to come out of pocket and what have you. And then you as a doctor, you have to be up to date with the latest technology and latest trends and everything. So it's just so screwed up all the way around. So I just want to stress that. Sure, I mean, there are plenty of doctors, especially psychiatrists, who can be just complete jerks and assholes, but there's plenty of amazing doctors as well who are doing great work in the world. And I feel so bad because oftentimes their hands are tied behind their back of what they can do, what they can offer, and what rates they can do. So just wanted to get that out. And I feel your frustration, Rihanna, and thank you for sharing that. And I know some other people are going to want to piggyback on that as well. And we'll definitely have time for that. But let's move on to Aaron. What is your problem?
My problem at the moment is the mental health system in general in Australia. There, we have nearly 9 people a day take their life, and just over 65,000 people a year attempt. So what the government has done is, you used to be able to go to your GP and say, I need some mental health care. You'd get a mental health care plan for 20 free sessions to a psychologist. The government have now cut that to 10. And 10 sessions in with a psychologist, you're still getting to know them, haven't really dove deep into why you're there. The main hospital that assesses mental health in WA has 8 beds, which is ridiculous. And they're only hospitalising people if you're extremely psychotic and dangerous, or if you've attempted to take your own life or are threatening to attempt. So there are so many people that need hospital care but just can't get it. There aren't any beds. There isn't the funding there to help these people.
Yeah, and like again, like you as a nurse, like must have like so many restrictions in place, so many things that you're not able to do or do for no money at all, and then it just it's a big mess all the way around. So thank you for the work that you do and as well as advocating as for being a voice for people who really do need one, and we need as many mental health advocates in the world. So I'm always glad that I can reach out to other advocates across the globe. So thank you, Aaron, for sharing this issue, which is sadly a global one. Okay, so let's get on to my issue. Let's bring me back on. So first off, thank you to everyone who's watching right now and has showed their support for the YouTube channel. I hope to do many more of these going forward. I'm very excited for that. So quick shout out to the people who have subscribed to the YouTube channel in the past couple months since really relaunching this YouTube channel and doing these panels. So thank you for that. My problem is something that really helped spur this YouTube channel, this live roundtable series, is that so often we're talking about mental health in a medical, strictly sense, or from a chemical imbalance perspective, and all this stuff that is really not getting to the root of the issues, such as discrimination, racism, sexism, all the isms, as well as much grander issues such as the whole world ending due to global climate change and all kinds of other horrible stuff where that makes you think like, is there still hope for us as a society? Like, are we just going to completely implode? And sure, the world might live on without us, but like are certainly not setting ourselves up for success. And the whole like trauma is something that gets thrown around a lot, and it's something that is like affected almost everyone in the world. It's like especially now, like with the pandemic and all these natural disasters that are happening across the world, like everyone has some form of trauma now going on in their life, and so it's really behooves us to talk about mental health in a more universal sense as opposed to just oh, that's just for the crazies, or that's for people who are bipolar, schizophrenic, and everything. Like everyone has a story, and everyone deserves to have. Not everyone. Some people are assholes and should not be platform at all. But there are plenty of amazing stories in the world, and I want to get to more of those, and I want to get to be able to talk about mental health in a way that is not just about diagnoses, and it's not just about the mental health care system, but it's just a grander, like, shared trauma, shared, like, we're all in this together, and we need to get our shit together as a species, or else, like, there's not going to be a species for in the future, because we're just going to blow it all up, or we're just going to completely implode as a society. I don't want to see that happen, obviously. So we need to start having these conversations. We need to start sharing more resources and how we can better ourselves, and how we can practice more mutual aid and take care of each other, for when we do have these disasters, that we're here for each other and can support one another. And we're not just completely devolving into just complete madness when things start falling apart. So that's my spiel. And that's why I wanted to relaunch this YouTube channel and start having these difficult but very necessary conversations. And so I'm thankful for the people who have joined me so far, both on the panel, both in the viewership. And so shout out to all of you. You are all stars in my book. So let's bring the grid back up. And anything that has been said by any of the panelists that speaks to you, Ernesto, Rihanna, Aaron, that you want to comment further on, feel free to just raise your hand. Just, you can do a physical raise hand. There's only four of us, so who would like to go first? Ernie, take it away.
I felt like I was back in school, and I was like, okay, me. But I like what you said about all the things that's going around. And one of the things that I learned, and I want to say probably 4 years, 5 years ago, that watching the news and being on social media and seeing all these things, or having these type of posts on your feed, I learned to take those things out of my life. I don't watch the news. If I have negativity on my feed, I take it off. I don't follow them, or I just make sure that I control what I can control. And I think a lot of the times, or current times, we have a lot of people trying to control a lot of things they cannot control. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on our mental health right now. And I think that's one of the things that creates a lot of tension right now, because we have celebrities, and we have these politicians. I could go on forever on that just separate a lot of us, because they're sitting in their little nice houses and offices. We're the ones that have to live with each other in our towns, cities, and everything like that. And we need to learn how to have these conversations, just like you said, and understand one another, rather than try to hate one another for how different we are. Because if you really think about it, us as humans, we have more in common than what people try to separate us as. If we really think about it, I think we have more in common than how they try to separate us and label us. And I just think that we ought to be helping one another, understanding one another, and just care for one another. And that's my dream.
Right. And you are right. We do have more in common than you would imagine. And that's why I love doing these panels, because I like bringing people from different backgrounds and nationality, countries even, and we can all have it out, and we can learn from each other. And
Yes.
we can even disagree in a way that is constructive, in ways that we can try to at least understand each other's perspectives. And of course, I'm never going to bring on some like extremist wacko who's just going to like spew a bunch of hate. You can trust me on that at least. But I mean, there's going to be times where people are just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. But I trust all of you to be able to discuss that in a way that is not just going to result into like fighting. We're not going to end up like some like Fox News panel show. That's so I don't know, maybe that'd be more entertaining for some people. That's probably like why it's like the ratings are so high for those shows. But like, I'm
Yes,
not going to do that.
that's
I'm
true.
going to take the high road. So anyone else have something to share?
Yeah. First, it would be like Jerry Springer's show. I mean, it started off as a political show, if we take it for
Yeah.
ratings.
But like Jerry Springer, he started off as like more serious, like Oprah style
Yeah.
show, and then like it just completely. He's like, oh, why am I trying to be a serious talk show host when I can just do trash and like become a millionaire? That is
Make
a
money.
very
Yes.
very tempting road to go down, but we're not going to do that on this show. Maybe that'll be the side show.
Right, but that's kind of, to go with what Ernesto was saying, is like he started out with this vision to change the world and to do good and have this platform to really bring people together and unite them to have conversations and educate one another. And it turned into people throwing chairs at each other and screaming, "You are not the baby daddy." Like it's chaos. And that's like kind of how the world is right now. I do want to recognize you, Ernesto. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a lot in common about, childhood trauma and history. I like, I have been to multiple therapists. It took me a really long time to finally get the correct diagnosis. I have CPTSD, but it doesn't have me most days.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah. But it's hard because people are afraid to talk about it. And they're afraid to talk about what's wrong and their traumas. Like when I'm struggling, people like just disappear because they're scared. But you don't have to be afraid to have these conversations. A person who is struggling with their mental health and having suicidal ideation, they need you to talk to them or just sit there and listen to them talk, right?
Right.
But we're not comfortable with that. And I don't understand why. I have no idea why.
Yeah, and we had a panelist on last week, Kevin Berthia, wasn't able to be here this week, and he was talking about we were talking about supporting someone who is like we sometimes get scared by people who are experiencing so-called extreme states, whether they're in a state of psychosis or seeing things or things that others don't, and that can like scare a lot of people. It's like, oh, I get away from those, but those people deserve support as well, and like we need to just get over that and like not be scared and like meet them where they are and just offer them support, because like that helps immensely. Like so many times where we rush to lock people up like that in states, or to like do all kinds of bad things, when we just try to just like sit there even with them, or just offer them something, like even just like a place to sit down, or blankets, something that can open someone up and like and get them to start sharing. And so yeah, like I wish we can have more of these conversations and support one another and just get past that. Like, oh, that's a crazy person. Like, I don't want to touch that and all that stuff. So I really appreciate the people who are on the front lines and putting in that work and to making that difference, because every single one of them is making such a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. I love your t-shirt too. Be kind, very important.
Yeah, I love it too.
Good. Anything you wanted to add on, Erin?
Yeah, I do. There's this whole thing with social media that we're finding with here global, where all the posts are being suppressed because they discuss trauma and how you can deal with trauma. They're not discussing diagnoses, medications, things like that. So there's over 30,000 people that are following that page on Instagram, and maybe 6 might see each post. So it's all being suppressed because we're not selling medication or talking about medication or anything like that. So they just don't want to hear it. So they just keep us quiet when all we're trying to do is just reach out to people. We've got things that you can do if you have trauma, which actually help to rewire your brain and get the trauma under control. There are many different exercises that we advertise on the website that you can do. But it's just, yeah, the buckets and the labeling as well. Like it's all illness or not. But what about all the people in between that don't have a mental health disorder? It's all trauma. Where do they sit? So that's why we sort of believe in 5 people have mental health conditions, because everyone goes through something that changes them and that they need help for. So that's the message that we're really trying to push. And it's really difficult when social media just suppresses you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you touched upon that because here's the thing: nobody is okay. Nobody's nobody's really happy because it's just the way the world is right now and has been for quite some time. It's just very very hard to get centered, to be at peace, and to like because you got to pretend like the whole world is not falling apart and that like there's so much that can be done. There's so much that's not being done. It just adds on to the anxiety and depression and everything. It's of course possible to still do work on your mental health and still have some semblance of I guess mentally healthiness. Some people are better at it than others, but just because you're struggling, there's very valid reasons for that. So I try to stress that to people, like don't beat yourself up too much if you're seeing yourself like depressed and anxious and stuff, and then like you think like, oh, like so and so on Instagram or whatever, like looks like they've got it all together. Nope, they are just as miserable as you are because there's very valid reasons for that being so. But doing stuff like this helps me, having these panels, being around with my peers, like just talking about it, it helps immensely. And I feel like I'm doing some kind of good work in the world and making some kind of difference because I'm at least putting myself out there. A lot of people are not willing to do that for various reasons. And so I want to be able to use my strengths and do what I can to contribute to getting the word out there, to bringing up difficult conversations that need to be had, to giving voice to people who have been marginalized, to building platforms. I feel like that's my greatest strength, and I'm going to keep on doing it because it helps me for my own selfish reasons, but also because it helps all of you. Rihanna, yes.
It does help us, Rudy. Thank you. I appreciate you. Erin, what is that website? What is the social media page?
It's samehereglobal.org,
Yes,
Same
and that
here,
is
Global.
and it's hashtag samehereglobal on Instagram and Facebook.
yeah, and the link to that is in the YouTube description. I'll put it in the meeting chat as well. And so everyone watching on YouTube, you can go check that out. Follow them on social media to defeat the algorithm and make sure that their content gets seen and in front of more eyes because it's important. It's positive. It's not a Jerry Springer like salaciousness. So we'll tell you that, but it is a very, very valuable stuff that could help you in your mental health journey, whoever you may be. How's that
Yeah,
for an advertisement?
you did great, Rudy. But I'm just very curious because I had an incorrect diagnosis at first. None of the medication was working for me, and with that, like it left me feeling like I was the brokenest broken person that ever lived. Because if it works for these other people, then I must be really messed up, right? But then when I finally found out the CPTSD and I started doing EMDR, yoga, I hula hoop my face off, tricks, sometimes with fire. You talk about feeling alive, right? You got to be in the moment. You can't disassociate when you're keeping that thing going. So I found all these tools and stuff. I would love to have that community of different trauma tools. So I'll definitely check that out, but that's amazing. You said 30,000 people?
On Instagram, yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
That's okay. We're always looking for new advocates to come on board if you're interested in that.
You got it, Erin. I'll message you.
Awesome. Ernesto, what say you?
I wanted a caveat on how we automatically do the medication thing, but looking back at it, the pharmacies are powerful. They make a lot of money. It's a business. So in the end, do they actually want people to have an outlet where they cure themselves? Because we're all individuals. We all deal with things differently. And how I found my outlet was I started going to high schools and speaking to youth, high risk youth. And that's when I found my outlet. Well, guess what happened? I started changing my mental attitude. And from there, I was like, hey, I don't want to be on these pills anymore. And their first you know, reply was, well, let's just keep going and we'll see. I was like, no, I don't want it on. I don't like it. And I went cold turkey. And they were like, you should not do it. And I did it. And I'm not recommending that for anybody else. I'm telling you what works for me. And I went cold turkey. And after I did that, and I started speaking, I started going to the gym, I started, doing all these things that were positive. And once I started doing that, my life started changing. And so when I do my inspirational speeches, I tell them about my life, because if there's one person that hears my story and I can change their life, that is my payment. That is my purpose. And that's what I love doing. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I love speaking. I just love telling my story. And with that, at the beginning, I was so afraid, because if I did tell individuals that I had a mental health problem, it was like, oh, he's crazy. But see, the thing is, I was ignorant like that too. I remember when I was young or younger, and oh, this person's taking, depression pills or whatever it was. Oh, they're crazy. That's your first thought. And that was my first thought. But then now that's the things that I changed, because it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. But the thing is, it's not okay to beat yourself up every day, because you know what? You can find a solution. You can find something that's going to help you or give you a purpose. So there are other alternatives out there, rather than just getting medication. And that's why I say what I say, because there's alternatives out there, not just these medications. And that's why I say what I say.
Yeah, and it sounds like what helped you is you found your purpose. You found
Yeah.
something to drive you every single day to get better at it, improve yourself, and to help others. When you see that you are valuable to more than just yourself, obviously you should start with loving yourself and build out from there. But when you see that you're giving back to others, that helps immensely. That is like the ultimate dopamine shot, because you feel like you're belonging to something greater than yourself, and that you are helping improve the world in some small way. And so that is just like the greatest antidepressant, anti-anxiety thing. Of course, those things will still exist and you still struggle with them,
Oh,
but
definitely.
you have that drive now. You have that need to keep improving and to keep bettering yourself. And definitely when I started sharing my story, that made such a huge difference to in my mental health, where I just felt completely hopeless and suicidal. Like, am I ever going to get better? What's the point of even living? And to being like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the best public speaker in the world. And different people have different gifts, different ways of giving back to the world. So if you're not a great public speaker, there's plenty of other ways. Just
Oh,
you'll
definitely.
find it. The thing is, though, you have to understand that you do have a purpose. If you don't feel like you have a purpose, you, it just feels everything is just is collapsing on itself, and that's when you get really suicidal. Is like, what's even the point? So when you do find that purpose, everything kind of flows out from there, and then you're just off to the races. But everyone does have a purpose. It just looks differently to different people. And
Yes.
so not everyone is going to like go to like be on TV or be in front of like thousands of people or public speaking tour
Mhm.
and all that stuff. Different people have different skills. And please, please, please don't give up. Find that, try different things, try different skills, belong to different groups. Just keep putting yourself out there, connect with people online, find mentors, find peers, because once you find that calling in life, whatever it may be, hopefully not, I guess, hateful, of whatever positive thing you might find in life.
Positive. Yes.
Because the real negative stuff, like even if you get really into that a while, it will like you will self destruct after a while. It will be destructive, and that'll be the end of
Yeah.
it. but you know when you're giving back to the world in a positive way. You know when you're putting yourself out there and giving back back to the world. That'll just keep moving you more and more and more, and you keep improving. And so please, please, please just do what you can to find other people with like-minded traits and skills and activities, things that you're
Yes.
into, and just build from there. Sometimes it can take years and years and years, but trust me, you do have a purpose, and that is my motivational speaker spiel.
Yes. You got me
Life
pumped up,
does
brother.
matter.
Yeah, well, I think finding your purpose starts with finding your passion. So like
Yeah.
what really ignites your spark for living? If you could think about one thing that you could do every day in and out, like what is that one thing? And then kind of work backwards. How do I get there? Help you. And mentors. Rudy, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because mentors, you've been one of mine for years, with AAS and stuff. Like, love you, buddy. But if I didn't have these people around me to help me through, then I'd be lost still.
Likewise, and those people are out there. There's people who want to help, who want to take people under their wing, and there was definitely people who helped me, like in my early days, and still today, who didn't need to, like they didn't like need to support me, they didn't need to mentor me, but they did because they saw something in me, and they saw that spark and just needed that extra boost, and it made all the difference. And yeah, definitely, and people like you too, Rihanna, you have helped me. I enjoy your spirit. I love your can-do attitude, your positivity, and big heart. You have a huge, enormous heart. Um, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for always giving. Thank you for always just being a light in people's lives. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Are you,
That's so sweet.
Okay,
you're getting
before
me fired up now.
yeah,
Um,
let's
I
go.
wanted to add something real quick.
Sure, sure.
So Rihanna said it best. Find your purpose, that passion. And I'm going to tell you my story real quick. So back in 2012,
Uh-oh.
when I retired out of the Army in 2012, I went in as a young man. I was 19. I retired. I got out. I was 39 years old. So all I knew was military. I didn't know how to be a civilian. And when I retired and I went into the civilian life, I thought to myself, okay, definitely they're gonna, hire me, and they're just gonna want me. Everybody's gonna want me because why? I was in charge of so many people, responsible for all these things. Well, guess what? None of that happened. But see that I had no mission, I had no passion, I had nothing. And in that moment, I started doubting myself. I started questioning myself. I started questioning my worth. And what did I do? I had to find an outlet, but my outlet turned to alcohol. So I started drinking a lot. I was drinking heavily. And guess what that did? That sunk me further and further into depression. And I was so depressed. I wanted to, end my life. And it was a moment where I got a phone call and they asked me to come speak about my military career. And at first I was like, no. And then I felt the presence and you better go. So I went, and in that moment, that's where I found my peace, my passion, my purpose. In that moment, that's when I found it. And that's when I knew this is what I'm supposed to do. And I love doing what I do. And I love getting those emails saying, hey, what you said in your speech really, opened my eyes, and I need to go after that, whatever their passion is. And yes, I've changed people's life, and that's what I love, and that's what it's all about: giving back to others, helping our neighbors. Just giving somebody a smile, or just saying hello, because we don't know what everyone's going through. They're going through some battles we don't know about, and it's okay to just smile or tell them how they're doing, because that's all they need, that little bit of hope to just keep going or change their lives in that moment. And then that just I can just keep going on forever about that, but yes, definitely that passion. I love that.
Yeah, well, we can definitely circle back to this topic in future episodes because I know you've got a lot more to share. So thank you, Ernie, and thank you to everyone else. Let's get our four up back up. Um, before we get into final thoughts, anything else anyone wanted to touch upon, Rihanna or Aaron or Ernesto?
Um,
Don't think too hard.
I,
Okay, let's get into final thoughts. And feel free to take this time to wrap up anything else that you were mentioning, any additional resources, how we can get in touch with you, social media, website, you name it. The floor is yours. Again, we'll go to Ernie, to Rihanna, to Aaron, and then I'll take it home. So, final thoughts, Ernesto.
yes. I'm reachable at keepupthefightapparel.com. That's my business. Also, where you can contact me or book me to do speeches. But one of the major things that I want to say or share with you is that you are not weak for getting help. You are not crazy. You're not less than when you reach out for help. I believe that you're the most courageous person in the world when you ask for help. Just ask for some guidance, get some people that are positive around you and help you build you, because that's what it's all about, because you matter. You matter in every fight that you give in life. And that's what I'm saying right now, because you're worth the fight and I care. That's why.
Thank you, Ernie. Happy to have you on. Hope to work with you again in the near future.
Thank you.
Final thoughts, Rihanna.
You can find me at Unconditional Inspiration, Facebook and Instagram, or you can just search my name on Facebook. I think I'm really the only Rihanna brand around. So that's pretty cool. But final thoughts are, not only, I love what Ernesto said, yes, reach out. You're not weak for getting help, but also to the people watching who just want to like maybe gather information on how to speak to someone, like just reach out. Don't be afraid. My favorite acronym for fear is face everything and rise.
Yes.
That's how we rise together, is if we face it head on. We cannot be afraid of different diagnoses or how to handle someone if they're having a mental health breakdown. We just need to communicate, and everyone deserves to have the support. We're struggling right now. You deserve to have the support. Get a hold of one of us on this panel. We will absolutely be willing to talk with you no matter what, because you are worth it. Every single person is worth it. And also, you never know when you're going to be the one. If you're okay all the time, you never know what's going to drop you to your knees in your life. You never know when that moment is, something happens, and you need that support. So be kind, like my shirt says. Definitely reach out for help, but look and reach out to others. Figure out how to help. See a need and fill it. Like that.
Awesome. Final thoughts, Aaron?
My final thoughts, you can reach me. My Instagram is EGMX. My Twitter is I am Erin McCauley, but I'm also reachable on #SameHereGlobal. So if anyone wants any information on that or wants to talk to someone that has lived through it, I can put you in contact with the CEO, Eric, who's just an amazing, amazing advocate. And he would be more than happy to speak to anyone as well.
Awesome. Well, that is going to do it for this week. We made it. We survived. Okay. So again, my name is Rudy Caseres. You can find me, of course, on this YouTube channel, which you're watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone who's shown their support so far. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe if you enjoy this content. Also, you can reach me on facebook.com/Rudy Caseres. I'm at Rudy Caseres on Instagram and Twitter, I guess. But the best way to get in touch with me is rudycaceres.com, and then there's a contact form on there if you want to collaborate. I also produce virtual events, so who knows? The world is limitless. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I'm very bad at ending, so at the expense of just completely devolving, I always like to delegate the final closing remarks to one of the panelists, and I have a very scientific way of doing this. So, boop, 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 boop. Ernesto, close us out. Just whatever sign off line you want to use, you name it, go for it.
Keep up the fight in life. You are loved.